Step beyond the veil, dear listener, because it's the Large Blast Podcast, Small Blast Podcast edition with me, your host, Stoney, and I'm joined, as always, by Welshy.
Only in death does the LBP end.
And from another realm, Matthew.
Hello.
And we're here today to talk about all things Warhammer, in particular, the ghosts and spooky goings-on in an untimely Halloween episode. But first, we like to get things kicked off with a little something we call Hobbies Goings-On, where we take a little look at the goings-on that have been happening in the hosts' hobbies' lives. So, Welshy, you go first. It seems like a bit of a no-brainer, that one. What's going on?
Oh, good zombie reference there, maybe.
Oh, yes.
If you wrangle it in. I have finished the Mark II White Scars squad from my Horus Heresy box, which was quite nice. They're up on my Etsy page, Meds Minis, if anyone wants to buy them. And then I've started on Death Guard. So I've started another batch of Mark II.
So is this the other half of the box?
Yeah, that's it. So I haven't actually painted a full half. I've only painted 2 units, but I'm going to mix it up because it's boring painting. Well, I thought to myself, it's boring painting white over and over again. But I've picked like the most white alternate faction as well in Death Guard Heresy. Yeah, but it's slightly different primer. I wanted to do them kind of somewhere between 30k and 40k. So there's a couple of guys that I've carved some guts falling out, and there's a couple of tentacles, but not over the top. Just a few bits that would make them look like they might be a bit damaged.
Do you think that's how it happens? Like real gradual. Like they're just they're just like, oh, Jeff's got a bit of a tentacle. That's a bit unusual. And then before you know it, like half the legion are tentacled up.
I imagine that like they've got their guts falling out on the floor and they're screaming in pain. And by the time the Medicae gets there, they're actually just like having a good old chuckle about and like sniffing on their excrement or whatever. That's probably how it
so
goes
you think
down.
maybe a bit of more of a sudden turn?
Yeah. Once you see your guts falling out, you're gonna look for someone to pray to, aren't you? And,
I guess so.
You know, if it's your guts, there's only one God that's gonna want you.
He's got the guts to take you on.
Yeah,
for sure.
So a bit of batch painting, which I haven't done for a while, but it's quite nice. There's a few videos backed up for the channel, so I'm just batch painting and getting through stuff without having to video it every 5 seconds, which is quite nice to have a break.
So you've got a TikTok going on as well.
Oh, yeah. So you'll also see, if you recognise some of our videos and you have TikTok, which I think is probably none of our listeners because there's far too young an audience for the Large Blast podcast. But yeah, I've set up a TikTok that's linked to my new commission painting account. So if anyone listens to this and wants some models commissioned, mostly kill teams on there. It's on Etsy, Meds Minis. Have a look.
Yes, Meds Minis. Check it out.
How about you, Stoney? What are you up to?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm not doing is going to talk about my Gene Stealer cult stuff because I've been talking about it for ages and I just haven't really had time to do any of it. So I've kind of assumed that people must just be sick of hearing about it and not really seeing any progress. I've made so many models for it. I was looking through it the other day. I've made like 2 vehicles, like a squad of bikes, like the whole thing. You know, there's so much stuff. It's crazy. But yeah, none of it is available to you, the general public, yet, or potentially in another 5 years or some bullshit. But like, so I figured like, I've got to make something. So I was half thinking about doing like a Doom Rider because I thought that would be quite fun and fairly on brand, seeing as how we've just done a Doom Rider video or whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought like maybe about doing that because that could be quite a nice quick thing to do. So yeah, I've been thinking about stuff, thinking about doing things, but none of it has actually like materialized into making anything yet.
Finance, cutting into technology. Accurate information is the Large Blast Podcast News. Hear every episode.
So you thought you knew everything about the drop site massacre? Well, think again, fool, because there's a new book out, and apparently it's a right doozy. Who's written this? What's it about? What's going on?
Yeah, that's right. It's written by John French, and I thought I knew everything there was to know about the drop site massacre study. It's been done in many books, but there is fresh lore in this book.
Fresh lore? But this is old. Surely this is old news. How can there be fresh lore?
Spoiler alert. If you do not want to hear spoilers for the book, Drop Site Massacre, then please skip forward a few minutes. We will play this very funky music whilst we are talking about the book so you will know the spoilers are. For everyone else, let's get ready to groove down on some secret sauce.
I'm only a part of the way through it, But what's really cool is you get to see the moment on Terra where they get together and decide to send the fleet to Istvan 5 to fuck Horus up. And you get to see the meeting on Istvan 5 between Fulgrim, Angron, Mortarion, and Horus. And it's really cool because Angron is pissed, mate. This is the big revelation. Okay. Angron does not want it to go down like this. He's like, it is unwarrior-like, it is unmanly. We are not going to lure them here and shoot them all in the back. Like, they are warriors. They deserve a warrior's death.
Right, he wants a full-on scrap.
He's like, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it like fucking men and we're going to have a proper fight. Right. And everyone else, mainly Fulgrim's like, no, it's a master plan. I'm going to shoot him in the back. And anyway, this gets to a big old crescendo and you get a showdown between Angron and Horus. You get an Angron-Horus fight, which I won't spoil the outcomes, but it's probably guessable. But it's pretty fucking cool. Sweet. Khan's there as like a middleman. Everyone's like, Khan, like rein your boss in, tell him he's being a knob, like this is the only way to do it. But he's not having any of it. So there's a little bit of points for Angron, which is always nice.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be Angron's way, isn't it? I mean, he's very orky, really. He just wants a big rock, doesn't he? Like
he does. Yeah. He's honourable. He's like a slave. He's like, I won't be chained. You won't tell me what I can and can't do. So he tries to get a signal out. And then from the other side, you also get all of this cool stuff.
Oh, so he actually tries to tip people off?
Yeah. He's like running into the box place, and then he gets smacked down by Horus, and it's like, it's cool, man. It's a nice little addition. All right.
Oh shit! Yeah. So he's got Dawn's number on his phone. He's about to hit the call button, and all of a sudden, boom! And big fight ensues.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, it's good. And then on the other side of the aisle, you get way more of Ferrus Manus, because in the original, is it the second book that it's in? Whichever one of the original trilogy, you get to see a bit of it. Actually, maybe it's in Fulgrim.
You see quite a lot of him in Fulgrim.
Yeah. Because they're mates, right?
Yeah.
So he takes it really personally when Fulgrim asks him to join them, and he can't believe that people would consider that he is able to be a traitor. Like, it blows his mind. He hates himself because he has this perceived idea that people thought he might turn. And he's basically wants to run in all guns blazing. And you get these really good conversations / arguments with Vulcan and Korax being like, calm down, like, we don't want to run in here all guns blazing, this is a stupid idea. And obviously you know the outcome, they run in all guns blazing, but the fight over like whether they should or not is actually quite cool and revealing. So that's all pretty good as well. And I hear, though I haven't got this far, I hear there's some allusions to what happens to the 2 missing legions in there as well. So I'll report back on that when I'm more than halfway through.
They are actually adding shit to old stuff now.
Yeah.
They're going round in circles, but just adding more now. I thought that we were done with this. It's some new stuff.
You're reading it and you're kind of like, you know they can't change the outcome of any of it because it would destroy the whole thing. But to have some of it fleshed out, because it is one of those bits that is kind of glossed over quite quickly. Although you see it from different perspectives, you never really get these kind of preparatory slides to the event. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I would recommend it. I almost didn't get it, and then I started listening to it, and it's Jonathan Keeble. So if you like the audiobook, he's your man.
So some of Warhammer's stinky cousins are coming out of the woodwork. That's right, we've got new video games, we've got a fucking board game. What else? I mean, what's going on here? So Bolt Gun 2, apparently, people who love the old boomer shooter Bolt Gun, the original, that was a big hit when that came out, I remember. But so that's getting a sequel, so gear up for that.
It looks pretty much the same, but you're a sister of battle. That's the kind of lowdown on Bolt Gun 2, but it's a fun game. It's cheap. It's basically a Doom reskin. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about that. I myself, as you well know, I'm still playing Fallout 4 because it's the only game I can remember the buttons for, and I shall never give it up. The other news is there's a board game, a Warhammer board game, but that's not Warhammer. So this is a Space Marine board game. So is it? I mean, I know that sounds mad because Warhammer is a board game, and that I shouldn't be that surprised. But like, there's a Space Marine board game.
Yes, yeah. There's a board game based on Space Marine, the computer game, based on Warhammer, the elaborate board game. Yeah, it's come full circle. and I played it for the first time with my mate, listener of the show, Jimmy Big Nuts, the other day, and it's bloody great. So the rules came out in White Dwarf, so you could say they're free, but they're not that free. And you play with three mates. So there's three of you on a team. Each of you has a different class of Space Marine, just like on the Space Marine 2 game. So one can be an assault, one can be a heavy, one can be a vanguard. Um, and you play it on the Gallo Dark terrain, which is the like indoor corridor kill team terrain that they released a while ago.
Okay.
And the gameplay is the three of you play as a team against a Tyrannid horde. So I don't want to worry you, Stoney, when I mention the next game, but it is a similar mechanic to Lost Patrol, which we have attempted to play in a pub before.
Right, forget about this game, people. Forget about it. There's nothing to see here. If it's anything like Lost Patrol, then we all know it's stacked against you.
But it's way better than Lost Patrol.
Okay.
There are different objectives to get to on the board that you're playing on. There are different spawn points for Tyranids. You kind of randomly roll how many Tyranids appear, and then if they're closer to the objective, they run towards that. If they're closer to you, they run towards you, and you fight, they fight, without going into the mechanics. But it is brilliant, and as the game hots up, because you can't really kill every wave of Tyranids, by the time you're on the final turn, there's so many Tyranids on the board that it's carnage. And each of the characters has like they've really thought about how the Space Marine computer game works. Like it is exactly the same. You take armor damage, then you go down, then your mate can pick you up if they get to your square, then you get back up with half of your armor and you carry on. Like it's the same mechanics, it's the same special moves translated into board game. It's clearly played by someone that loves both. And if you can get your hands on the latest three White Dwarfs, all the rules are in there. And if you've got some Tyranids and you've got three Space Marines, you can basically play it.
Oh, okay. So you can play it without the board game, you're saying, basically.
Yeah, I mean the board. So the board is most people that play Kill Team or have played indoor Warhammer, as I call it. They already have the terrain. If you don't, you could probably just go online and find a PDF and print it out. Like it's just squares of a certain size on a board.
Oh, that's good. I thought you meant that they were printing the rules in White Dwarf. It's like, oh man, they sell you the board game and then make you buy 3 copies of White Dwarf.
There is no sale of any game. It's all designed to be previously sold stuff, and then the rules are in White Dwarf.
Oh, so it's not a board game. You can't go and buy.
No, you can't go and buy it.
It's not like Monopoly. Okay, this is just a new version of the rules.
Yeah, basically, but it's great. Oh. And then there's one more thing that we saw rumored this week, Stoney. Did you see Valrak pulled it up, which I think brought it to most people's attention. But there was a little bit of a rumor, a little bit of a teaser from GW themselves about Battlefleet Gothic.
Okay. Oh, right. Well, I mean, it's a shame Matt can't be here in person because we know that he loves that. Right, Matt?
Yeah, fuck it.
But, Stoney and Matt from the ether, maybe this is enough to bring him back to life. There are also rumors it might be set in the Horus Heresy, which would be very, very disappointing to a large amount of the fan base.
Would that not make it yet like I mean these sort of like other games like the Titanicus and Epic and stuff, I always find them so confusing because they're so like I think like Titanicus or whatever, that's the one with the little guys in. But then there's like all these other games that are basically Titanicus but aren't Titanicus, like Epic and all these other ones. Is that going to make like Battlefield Gothic a bit like that as well, where it's going to be like, so this is, Battlefield Gothic in the past? Like,
I feel like my concern with it is that, well, firstly, as the resident Xenos guy, I'm annoyed because I can't get the models. I can't play Xenos, as are a lot of people who already have Xenos armies because Battlefleet Gothic was set in 40k.
Yeah.
And the second thing that would make it annoying, but why I think they might do it, is from their point of view, they don't have to make as many models, but also like the lore kind of already exists for the battles that you might want to replicate because it's outlined in the Horus Heresy. So they don't need to come up with like new lore. But I suppose you could say that about the 40k stuff. Anyway, let's keep our fingers crossed that it is set in 40k and you can have some sweet Tyranid ships because they were kind of done dirty in the original back in the day.
Yeah. You've got you've got Tyranid ship now that
God,
you can
it's like
put
a
to good
big
use.
turdy piece of metal.
You've
It's
got
like
your wormy turd that needs to be set free upon the galaxy.
the kind of thing you could put in a sock and kill someone.
Rolling in my 6-4.
Wing of Bat, Bull Bag of Toad. Welcome to the late Halloween episode. Two lost souls, two lost scared lands, stumble through forgotten lands, in effort to find, although they stray, the most haunted place in 40k. To weave their sanguine episode, cause you've got to have that hook, you know. So let's go have a look there now. What's the veil's thin and the moon is out.
So here we are, Welshy, in Yarrick's house on Cadia. Can you feel the chill in the air?
Yarrick wouldn't have a house on Cadia because he fights on Armageddon.
So from the most spookiest place in Warhammer that was blasted to bits, the most important thing to remember is that it definitely does exist.
I'm feeling a lot of ghost activity here, and I feel like maybe this would be a good place for us to have our discussion about the 40k afterlife. What do you think?
Yeah, I reckon so. Like, who needs to be brought back? Who has been brought back? How are they brought back? That kind of thing.
How it works, yeah. All aspects of the spooky afterlife. So death isn't that permanent in 40k, it turns out, is it? Because there's a lot of people who you think are dead and then they come back. There's a lot of people who you're not expecting to die and end up being really mega dead.
There's a lot of
included.
people that are close to death and then they kind of spin it as they've been brought back from the dead, but really they've just been like healed, which is a very different thing.
Yeah, that's true. There's been, yeah, you're right. I mean, Guilliman, I guess, would be a classic example of that, where his old law was that he had his throat slashed, immediately frozen in time, and then they were just kind of waiting for a cure for a slash to the throat, and then someone came along, just stuck a plaster on it, and was like, he's good to go.
Exactly, yeah. You're not dead if you're in a stasis field. By the very definition of stasis field, you are in stasis, i.e. not yet dead. Close to death. Doesn't count. But there are Primarchs who I would say probably do count. Vulcan. Like, if you've been atomized, I think you're dead.
But he is a perpetual, though, isn't he, Vulcan?
He comes back.
He has not. Death isn't his first rodeo, is he? He's been dead a few times.
Oh, many, many times. Thank you, Mr. Kurz, I think, for explaining that to everybody. And then I also thought, Primarch-wise, I guess this is going to take us on to what is actual death in 40k, which we could go on to. But all of the demon Primarchs can pretty much die and come back. Like, Angron can be eviscerated and he just kind of comes up thing style from like a globule of blood on the floor.
But I guess they become, I mean, the warp is quite important when we're talking about being dead in 40k, aren't we? Because it's a bit like the warp is kind of like the afterlife, as in you sort of drift off into it. You either become, as a human anyway, you'd either kind of become a part of the Emperor's light or kind of drift around in the warp, kind of getting eaten by chaos gods.
Yeah, I think we probably need to define whether are we talking body dead or soul dead?
Well, I mean,
those are two different things.
And it's definitely kind of confirmed in 40k that there is such a thing as a soul. Because I was reading about this, that there was an Inquisitor that did like a big kind of investigation into it as part of the creation of the Grey Knights. Because, I mean, we're firing off on a lot of different things here. So I guess that, like, being a demon or something is going back to the Angron thing or whatever, is a bit like being a ghost, because you kind of become part of the warp and then you can kind of, like you say, materialize again and get pulled away, and you don't really have a physical body. You're more like a kind of a fart, a sentient fart that can sort of drift in and out.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's definitely the case. We've got sentient farts going on all the time in Warhammer. They just require somebody in the Black Library to need a new plot device, and boom, someone's back. I mean, your favourite plot device ever, Mr. Grammaticus. He is all over the coming back from the dead.
He can never die! Yeah, that's
And he's not even a perpetual.
No.
He's just a fake one, which also implies that the Eldar can essentially make perpetuals, which is kind of mental lore. Maybe they need the Cabal around.
Well, what about... so when we're talking about Primarchs that are dead, and I feel like Ferrus Manus, he's probably one of them, right? I mean, he got his head cut off, and he was never about the fancy psychic stuff or being a part of the warp or anything. He was very much, I'm a robot. I mean, maybe that's it. Maybe they stick a battery in his head or something and it'll start going again. But for the time being, definitely dead.
Well, Stoney,
Uh-oh.
in the final trilogy of the Siege of Terror,
Hmm.
we get a genuine ghost, like it's portrayed as a ghost of Ferrus Manus
Ah,
intervenes in that storyline. I won't go
okay.
more into that, but there's a little chat with one of the other brothers from a kind of ghostly,
He
and there
comes
are
in
people
like
that say the
Simba's
Legion of the
dad in The
Damned
Lion King. Oh yeah, the Legion of the Damned is very
might
much
be
could be
might be
ghosty.
Ferrus at the head of it. So, and they're based on Ghost Rider, so he's a
Yeah.
ghost.
Well, there's also, I mean, we talked about him a little while ago. I mean, can't just be like sort of naming ghosts, I guess. But like when I was talking about when we did our Grey Knights episode, Mordrak,
Yeah,
and him and his retinue of ghosts. Because I
yeah.
was reading this interesting thing about like how if a Grey Knight dies in the warp because they're so anti chaos, they do kind
Yeah.
of become like ghosts. They sort of like it's a bit like oil and water. They're like
Mm.
can't be absorbed into the warp, so they kind of exist as an entity inside the warp.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so there might be that there's a little town of ghost grey knights somewhere in the warp,
Yeah,
that
because
kind of
we
thing.
know the demons are playing like a great game in the warp. So the demons obviously have agency within the Immaterium. So
Mm.
you'd imagine that super powerful psychers have agency within the Immaterium in the form of their souls.
Yeah,
So that's
absolutely.
pretty cool. And I think like when you go into some of the weirder, more esoteric like chapters, the Space Wolves kind of have like a place within the warp. Like they have a kind of Valhalla mead drinking hall thing that it's kind of hinted that they chill out
Oh, they
in
have
if
to. Yeah,
they have a warrior death, all
yeah.
that kind of stuff. So death is certainly impermanent in some cases, but there are some weapons that can fully kill people
Okay.
within 40k. So the ones that I could find that are described as creating a true death, they eviscerate like the body and the soul.
Hmm.
The Emperor's sword
Right.
is definitely one of them. So Gilliman's got that now. You've got the Crone swords, which are like the super special god tier Eldar swords, which are
Hmm.
kind of floating around the Eldar. I don't know who's got which one. I don't know
Hmm.
anything about Eldar. Um, some of the divining blades, and then other things that are said to be able to perma kill stuff. Ultra high strength psychers, they can
Okay.
perma kill stuff. Nulls, so Sisters of Silence, if they kill you and you're in their like null aura, then
Hmm.
that can kill you properly dead. And a Nuncia, the old super secret language that is kind of hinted at by John Grammaticus and that storyline, and coming to a peak in the kind of Eisenhorn Ravener. But that's it, really. It's not
So
like a massive list of things that can perma dead people.
so let's visit back on some of that. So you're saying the
Yeah,
language can so there's some words that can kill you dead.
magic language. Yeah, a
Magic
Nuncia.
language.
The null fields are pretty cool. Well,
Is that
they're
right?
described as not having a soul themselves. So
Yeah.
they are like soulless beings that may or may not have been created
Hmm.
by the old ones slash the Necrons at some point in Earth history.
Hmm.
Um,
I've got some dispute for that from our old mate James Swallows, who, in his book, called The Void, a sister of silence sells her soul in
oh,
order to be able to travel back in time to give her past self a message from the future. So, if you ever heard about that, so it does suggest that they
no.
do have a soul.
They must have
Unfortunately,
something going on in
they have
there.
must have something. I think they're just really fucking boring, aren't they? They just make
There's
people really
anti-soul,
uncomfortable. Yeah,
anti-matter souls.
kind of like one of those psychic vampires or whatever you hear about. Um,
Yeah.
but like, what's quite funny in this book is as soon as the Sister of Silent goes back and gives her old self the new message, her old self is then killed for being talking to ghosts. So
Oh,
yeah, so it's a massive backfire.
yeah, it
It's a
doesn't
huge
work.
fuck up. But
Yeah.
yeah, there you go. But apparently, souls, Sister of Silence do have souls, according to James Swallows, at least. But the point of them is they don't really exist in the warp, do they? They're sort of like,
No,
yeah,
they're not beacons and they nullify the warp around them. So even if they've got some black anti-soul, that cancels out the soul of the person they're fighting, and then when they kill them, I guess it's not there. I don't know. I
yeah,
doubt they're strong enough. Like one Sister of Silence isn't going to be strong enough to like dampen a demon Primarch's soul. But
hmm,
if it's just like bloodletters, I reckon they can kill them stone dead.
right,
And then the kind of big swords are interesting because I know with the crone swords that they are one of those kind of relic hunting things in the Eldar lore, aren't they? Like it's who's got them? Have we got them all? I think if they collect up all the crone swords, it's like a end of the world kind of thing. I
It's
don't
like
know.
the
We don't know
Dragon
how the Eldar
Balls.
works, but they're cool.
Mm.
And then the Emperor's sword's badass. It's a big flaming awesome thing.
Yeah.
So there are ways to kill people dead. And then there's ways to kind of semi-kill people that are fun, like Lucius. I mean, that's an odd way to go. Are you dead if you're trapped inside Lucius's armor as a screaming face for the rest of eternity?
Yeah, and does Lucius die and come back, or is it a different Lucius? Is he like, I don't know, is he even a person really? It's kind of,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
true.
so
That is true.
yeah, who knows? Spooky.
Macarai, he's another weird one, right? In
Yeah, well,
terms
I
of
mean, I think
just
they just smack another Macarai badge on the next Gretchen and shove him in his place, don't they? But you're
yeah.
right. Or is he the most immortal orc known to orcdom? But
Well, I
orcs are
read
quite
some bits that it was to do with like Gazgul's has a really strong soul aura, and he basically uploads Macarai from the warp in the new Macarai. So it's not
okay.
just that they pretend someone else is Macarai. I think he is like
You
his
see,
his memories are
you know,
uploaded into
I
a new
mean,
grot.
I'm a Macarai fan, and as much as I would love to believe that, I do feel like that's Games Workshop being like, "Oh yeah, don't worry, Timmy the dog has gone to live on a farm with like other massive, he's going to love it there. Don't worry about it," kind of thing. I feel like that's done to kind of placate me, but I feel like I know Macarai's gone and comes back, and that's fine. He can never be killed. He's like the Flash, or no, the
Yeah,
Phantom.
forget revisiting the drop site massacre. We need a POV Macarai storybook.
We need
Macarai through the ages.
we need a 3-book series of what happens to Macarai every single time. A list of the Macarais, the great Macarais of the world. You're right. We need to get James Swallows on that immediately. But orcs are quite interesting because they basically, I mean, they're a bit like Valhalla as well. They believe that like they get kind of reincarnated. They think that they get sucked up by their souls get sucked up by Gork and Mork into their mouths, and then when their mouth is full, they like spit them back into another orc body. Is what they believe, which is quite interesting.
They're
but
Buddhists.
yeah, kind of Buddhist, yeah, very reincarnation-y. People kind of believe that Gork and Mork probably are real because of the way orc stuff works. It's so much of it works on they just believe it happens, so it kind of happens. So it kind of makes sense that Gork and Mork would be real because everything else in orc society kind of works that way.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But I think, well, that was like a very early lore, wasn't it? Like
I think it's
old.
even in Warhammer Fantasy, Gork and Mork are a thing.
Yeah, because you get the
Yeah.
foot of Gork, don't you? In Warhammer
Yeah, the
Fantasy.
old
It was that
spell.
template that came
Yeah.
down. But I think more and more the description of how the warp works in 40k is kind of the same. Like the more belief in a thing can conjure it into existence within the warp, and then over time it becomes powerful enough to establish itself back in real space. So I think that kind of concept of belief creating gods and making them real is something that's pushed more and more in the lore. I think that's really obvious when you look at, we mentioned how kind of demons are able to come and go. Well, there are imperial things that are able to come and go, which are the living saints. So there are these examples of kind of, if you want to call them good, but let's call them on the side of the emperor souls, can kind of reincarnate back to life demons by any other means on in the real space, right?
I assume you're talking about like Celestine and that sort of thing. Yeah, because she is like a fart, isn't she? She doesn't really exist off the battlefield. She is just a battlefield guff.
Yeah, well, but even that she's become kind of more real. So I got a quote from her actually that said, "Only those who truly believe in the Emperor and walk within his light, no matter how dark the path that's trodden." So she's kind of implying that if you really love the Emperor, like the main goal of loving the Emperor is essentially to make yourself sainted and able to come back. But you've got to really love the guy. And I think when she first kind of is referenced, she appears on the battlefield. But when I looked at like her history, in life you have to do some kind of crazy good deeds, and then when you die, you're given the sainthood. But then she able to come back to life. The most recent time though, she's come back to help in a big fight was on Cadia. just before Cadia was destroyed, so she didn't make that much of a difference. But anyway, she manages to escape with everybody else from Cadia, and she kind of hangs around. So she hangs around, she escorts Gilliman all the way back to Terra when Gilliman starts the Terran Crusade, which is to kind of get all the way back so he can have a chat with his dad, so his dad can tell him he doesn't love him. Even after that, she still kind of hangs around helping Gilliman. So I think some of the saints are kind of described as just appearing, like you say, at a turning point of a battle, doing a load of cool shit and leaving. You could say the same for the Legion of the Damned. But it seems more and more like they might be able to kind of hold themselves in real space for longer. Maybe that indicates the Emperor's getting stronger in the warp.
So you mean they just fuck off because they just can't be up? I mean, to be fair, if I was like a dead saint, I wouldn't want to hang around and do all the small talk stuff as well. After the battle, I'd be like, oh, I'm a ghost. Oh, I gotta go. Just go home.
Yeah. Go back. Especially if you've carved out a nice, like, essentially, you're probably living in, like, with the Grey Knights in heaven section of the warp. It's got to be pretty sound.
You've got like a kind of a kind of Tropicana in the warp type thing that you go back to. You get back, it's a couple of Grey Knights with one of those headdresses with like bananas and grapes and stuff in, shaking up a cocktail. You're like, oh mate, clocked off. That was a long battle. Glad to be home.
And I thought your books were all spells. They're just cocktail recipes.
Hell yeah.
So I also looked at some other saints because there's quite a few in the lore. Like everyone knows Celestine. She got that amazing model, which I still think is one of the coolest Sisters of Battle models. But they're not all Sisters of Battle. So a lot of them I think are, because it's easy to do heroic stuff if you're a Sisters. But it did say that you can be sainted for your work in the Administratum, which I thought was funny because you could all be sat on the battlefield like needing a warrior saint to return, and you just get a guy who's really good at like the Dewey Decimal System appear with like a biro in his hand and like filing system.
I was the guy that invented chip and pin technology. I'm actually here to help you plan for your financial future.
Exactly.
But I'm surely like the machine spirit. That maybe that's where the Administratum guys go. The guys that invented the calculator or whatever. They get sucked into the machine spirit.
If someone's having a real difficulty with like a virus they've downloaded onto their computer, and suddenly, boom, there's a guy behind you that tells you the right. Control-Alt-Delete. What's that?
McAfee or whatever his name was. That fucking nutter.
John McAfee, the saint of the machine spirit.
He's the guy who's kicking it all off. He's the first. He's the first guy, the first machine spirit, I reckon.
Oh man. But other than admit, I couldn't find any examples in the lore, obviously, of Administratum-based saints. But there was a guy called Gerstel that was pretty cool. He was an army officer. He was rumored to return at like the end times.
Okay.
So when the Eye of Terror opens fully for the last time, apparently this guy Gestal is going to be reincarnated. But Abaddon on the Third Crusade destroyed his bones because he was worried that might happen. So I've got to say though, you probably don't need the bones. Like if you're resurrecting from the warp, do you need the bones? Is that a requirement?
Yeah, it does seem a little superfluous, It seems like a bit of a dick move, to be fair. It's just like, fucked up your bones. You're coming back or whatever.
It's a very Abaddon thing to do.
It is, yeah.
And then there was one other saint, female saint that I thought of that's quite big in the lore, and that's Saint Sabbat. So she was a shepherd's daughter that early on, like after the Horus Heresy, manages to like cause an uprising against chaos that have like infiltrated their system. She's the kind of like rebel leader that just gets rid of all of the chaos as everyone fights back against them to purge their system. So she gets sainted, and she appears in the books Gaunt's Ghosts.
Gaunt's Ghost novels?
Just can't help himself, can he? Even from beyond the grave.
Exactly. There's more saints to discuss as well. So there's the Tranche War Saint. This is a guy whose kind of sainthood is the more interesting part. So apparently they think he's dead 13 times and he keeps getting up and fighting in this big battle. So like Boromir style.
But also kind of like a Rasputin style guy who you just like, you feel like you've killed a million times. always think that would be quite funny, where you've just like slipped a guy some poison, and you're all just like looking at each other, just being like, he's been drinking the poison, right? Fuck it, let's just shoot him. What? He's still alive? I'll chuck him in the lake. He's still alive.
Yeah, maybe it was that, because actually, although they've petitioned to make him a saint, he's actually only currently a martyr of exceptional faith. So even if you get up 13 times after death on the battlefield, it might not be enough to get you full sainthood.
But then who says if you're a saint? Surely if you just come back, then you've been made a saint. Like, surely it's not the administratum. As soon as they rubber stamp your papers with the word saint, you appear back from the warp and do something, right? You've got to be like, I mean,
well, maybe you need to be mates with that administratum saint. Maybe the administratum saints are in charge.
He's the only bureaucrat in the warp that can liaise with the living.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last saint I found about staying back from the dead, a little fella called Matthew.
Okay.
Saint Matthew.
Right.
Spelt the French way. This guy's pretty badass. So in life, he's appointed by Gilliman to be kind of high priesty guy in the current 40k setting.
Okay.
And his saintly deed is they find during the Plague Wars the position of Nurgle's cauldron in real space. So part of Nurgle's cauldron is in real space. And this guy, Matthew, channels the Emperor's might through his brain and blows up part of Nurgle's cauldron, which is a pretty big ask.
It is.
And he dies in the process, but his dying words is that he confirms what he was trying to do the whole time, which was to do a deed so strong that even Gilliman would start questioning whether the Emperor was a god. Okay. That it sets in motion, which is kind of takes us right up to current timeline of Gilliman being like, maybe I've just seen a guy blow up a god's cauldron with his brain, and he's telling me it was the Emperor. Is that just psychic power, or is it godlike? Like, what is going on?
But what's Nurgle doing with half his cauldron hanging out into real space anyway? That seems a bit like that can't
plot
be.
Device.
Yeah, a bit of a plot device. How does it work anyway? A cauldron's round. Has it got one of the legs? Who knows? Is it poking through the ceiling of one of them?
Maybe it's just a spoon. It's maybe like he's lost his ladle. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Those are the kind of, there were other saints, but I don't want to go through every single one. But those ones seemed pretty cool as a kind of example of what we've often described as imperial demons. The Games Workshop store was nearly empty, except for the faint hum of fluorescent lights and the soft clatter of dice on a table in the back. The smell of paint, plastic glue, and something less pleasant, sweet and stale energy drinks, hung in the air. A man stood at the counter, clutching a shiny new box of Space Marines. His first army, his first dive into the grim dark future of Warhammer 40k. Yeah, he said with a smirk. Figured I'd start with 40k. Age of Sigmars for dweebs. The cashier chuckled awkwardly, scanning the box. But from the corner table a voice creaked through the silence. It belonged to a man hunched over a battlefield of Stormcast Eternals, stood alone. His shirt clung to him, his hair greasy, his skin pale under the store's white lights. The faint smell of body odour drifted stronger as he turned his head. The man stared out of cloudy eyes set within the pallid skin of a gaunt face and whispered,
"No good shall come of this purchase."
The customer froze, half smiling, half unsure. The strange man went back to his game, muttering something under his breath. A rhyme, or perhaps a curse.
"Paint them blue and paint them true, but mark these words, they'll come for you. As brush and blade, they'll draw your hue."
The customer shrugs it off. Just a weirdo, he thought to himself. Every hobby had them. So at home he laid everything out, sprues, paints, clippers, brushes. He scrolled through faction colours online before being arrested by the beautiful blue armour of the Ultramarines. Classic, he said, you can't go wrong with blue. The first model looked fine, almost there. So he reached for his bottle of Nuln oil, but it toppled, spilling on the desk, black ink spreading like an engulfing shadow. He swore, grabbed a cloth and wiped it off, chuckling at his own incompetence. The next night, whilst cutting more Marines from the sprue, his blade slipped, a sharp sting, his thumb split right down the centre. Blood seeping out, pooling in the recesses in contrast to the blue edge highlights. He sucked the blood away, bandaged it, and kept on working. After another late night working on the army, he placed them on the shelf and finally crawled into bed. Awaking from a very theoretical dream, charging lines of Xenos with courage and honour, he was confronted with the very practical concern of needing to piss. Stumbling bleary-eyed to the loo when, fuck! He looked down to find a tiny blue soldier embedded up to the hilt of its power sword in his heel. He could have sworn the faceplate had been smiling. Weeks later, with the army finally complete, primed, painted and based for McCrag, he packed them carefully into a case and set off for his tournament. On the drive, the heavens opened. A flash of lightning lit the sky blue, the road blue, the central reservation blue, growing in his vision as he heard his tyres screech. Blue stars in his eyes as his face hit the steering wheel, blue flashing lights as he heard sirens and faded into darkness. He woke in a hospital bed 3 days later, bandaged and broken. The case had been found in the wreckage, completely unharmed. One ultramarine sat on his bedside tray, perched like a watcher. Its armour gleamed, unmarred, impossibly clean. In the hospital, arm in a cast, leg in traction, he stared at that single ultramarine on the bedside table. He couldn't take it anymore. The smell of paint haunted him. The shade of blue seeped into his dreams. He decided to sell them, every last one. When the buyer handed him the cash, he felt lighter somehow, like he had escaped an unforeseen fate. But he knew that was just silly. A week later, he strolled back into the same Games Workshop, the same humming lights, that same faint smell. "Starting fresh," he said to the clerk, dropping his money in the counter. "I'll try something new this time." The cashier smiled politely. "What'll it be?" The man looked around, eyes settling on a new display. Sleek, white, armoured alien warriors. "Tau," he said. "They look pretty cool." From the back of the store, the dice clattered, and there he was, the same strange, smelly hobbyist. He looked up and smiled.
I'm down with digging in the crates and I'm MVP.
So Welshy, as you know, I've got some crystals here to help protect us. I've got some amethyst. I've got some spinel. I've got some quartz.
Rose quartz, is it? I hope.
Is there any other kind? This is something I picked up from the Eldar. Actually, I've heard that they're big into stones, right? They're about protecting
I think
stones.
You might have got it a bit wrong. Did you get these from the crystal shop down in Glastonbury? We talk about spirit stones because I feel like you getting these for cheap isn't right, because as far as I'm aware, the Eldar spirit stones can only be found on the Crone worlds, which are actually in the Eye of Terror, because those are the worlds closest to where Slanesh was born. Oh. So, unless you've paid a pretty penny for these, I'm going to say that they might just be glass.
I did pay a lot of money for them, but I also think they might be glass. I've been ripped off doubly.
Well, you need the high quality stuff, because what you need to do is you need to attach these to your person, and they're special psychically aligned crystal that if you're killed, they trap your soul so that your soul can't go into the warp. Okay. Which is saving you from the warp. And if you're an Astarani Eldar, it means that your soul isn't going to Slanesh, which is your big baddie, right? You don't want your soul going to Slanesh.
An Eldar soul goes into the warp, right? That's a part of it. Which suggests that, like, you know, again, Eldar souls sort of disappear out of their bodies when they die, but also kind of suggests that before the warp, because the warp kind of came about with people, didn't it? Like humans. Like before the warp, maybe there were a lot of Eldar ghosts, because where were their souls going? You know,
I think the warp still existed. I think the warp is kind of explained to have existed since psychically, like, capable species existed. So when the old ones invented the Eldar, that the warp kind of still existed then, obviously, because otherwise Slanesh wouldn't be able to be born. So I think the warp probably did exist. It's obviously boomed in population since people as well, because any soul can go there. So I think, but even then, the souls might have gone there. But they birthed
so they all
Slanesh,
just got, like,
so their fear is that Slanesh is going to eat their souls and do horrible shit. Like, there's not even a chance if you're an Eldar, your soul's going straight to Slanesh. It's getting fucked every night. Like,
well, that's like one of the things, isn't it? I mean, that's why, like, because the Dark Eldar's solution to that is to basically just never die by being a bastard to everybody, and somehow that just keeps them keeps them
And the
alive.
pain keeps them fed. They kind of
That's right.
feed Slanesh through pain during their
Yeah,
lifetimes and stuff. They're kind of serving Slanesh in a way as they live.
yeah.
But it's cool for the Eldar, I think, because it's almost like, like they do on is it Santeria or is it just the Mexican thing where they get all of the skulls out and they
Yeah,
like commune with the dead at various points during the year? You
yeah.
can basically do that if you're an Eldar. You've got the dead in a crystal and you can talk to them. If you're a spirit seer, you can talk to them really well, but they are literally in a gem. You can have like your loved one's souls hanging around your neck if you want.
Right. So they're just in. Oh, so they're actually you can actually talk to the souls. Like I
Yeah.
just assumed that they were just like hanging out in there.
No, because then you plug them into the infinity circuit, don't you? Which
Hmm.
is the like big loop de loop in the craft world where all
Right.
of the souls are like chilling out. So whether they can communicate with each other, I don't know. That's beyond my Eldar knowledge, but that's pretty cool. Because then the other thing you can do is you can plant your spirit stone. You can plant it in some wraith bone, and you can like grow cool structures. And that's how like the wraith lords and all of those funny like things work. And that plane we talked about in the Top Gun episode, that like you've basically got a dead soul as your AI. If the pilot gets killed, it takes over.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You forget that there's some pretty mad shit going on with the Eldar,
Yeah,
don't
you do. It's
you?
always everything's so Space Marine focused, but I actually think in terms of originality, some of the Eldar stuff is way more original than
Oh yeah, it's definitely more
like
original. Yeah, for sure.
the
Yeah.
Imperial stuff. And then I don't think we can talk about Eldar death without talking about the Eldar God of Death, who's come onto the scene recently.
Oh,
We've
tell me
got
more.
Enid. So Enid is the Eldar God of Death, and you've got like their kind of patron in real space, Ivrain. So her whole thing is that she will let you die. You're not going to get trapped in a spirit stone because she can guide your spirit straight to the Eldar God of Death. And if he gets enough spirits, he can take down Slanesh. So she's like gathering ghosts. She's literally going around collecting souls and feeding them into this guy who's going to come and battle Slanesh when it's powerful enough.
Nice. Okay, so
Unless, of course, you're one of the people that say maybe that's Slanesh.
well, I mean that it does kind of sound like maybe it's like what's it what do they call it, feeding Peter to pay Paul or whatever, where it's like if you've got someone that basically eats the souls, if it's the god of death or Slanesh, does it massively matter? I suppose. I guess it's more for the future Eldar to restore them. But yeah, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, that one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird. I hope they follow it through because the role of the Eldar gods coming back to life, it could be really interesting. But as you say with Eldar lore, it's always like kind of kept a bit detached. Like the spirit stones themselves, they say they're created by Vol, who's their like forge god, created them from the tears of Isha, who's the lady that's trapped in Nurgle's garden. Like there's all of these like god tier people that used to exist. And if you bring one back, how does that really impact the warp as a whole? How does it impact like how do the Eldar gods really exist
I mean,
in a
that
world
is
of warp and warp
absolutely.
gods?
I mean, it would be really interesting if the Eldar did become more of a dominant force because they've always been few and far between, kind of on the way out. That's been their whole thing, and the whole time 40K's been going on, and incredibly overpowered on the battlefield.
Yeah.
So maybe if they did start coming back, they would have to be like, oh shit, we had to get a bunch of kind of Eldar Timu style equipment made so that like to accommodate everybody. So we've actually a bit not quite as good as we used to be, or something on the battlefield. I
Well,
don't know how you do it.
maybe that's what you could do with all these amethysts you've collected. You can wrap some like milliput around them and create a kind of Wraithguard amethyst.
Please, if you
type
are
guy.
looking to buy some amethysts, please do contact the show because I've got way too many. Some of those individuals they might want to keep alive for a little longer, mightn't they? If they're a good warrior and they get their legs blown off or something like that and can't fight on the battlefield anymore, well, don't you worry because the Space Marines have got a way of keeping you alive and fighting long after you should be dead, and that is by the Dreadnought.
Yeah, definitely. Imagine that. Like you think you finally earned your warrior's death, and you wake up as sometimes just like a floating brain in a tank
Well,
of
that's
jelly.
it's like a sarcophagus, isn't it? And which they hook the sarcophagus. It's like a special kind of sarcophagus full of wires and shit, and they like hook you up to some kind of life support system and fill it up with embryonic fluids to keep you going, keep you alive. And a lot of Space Marines actually see this as kind of a great honor, because they're like, right, even in death, even though I can't fight anymore as a Space Marine, I can fight as a brain in a jar inside a walking iron lung, basically. So yeah, but after you've been brought back to life in your coffin, you get taken to a battle monastery where you're slowly taught how to use your dreadnought body until moving around in it basically becomes as natural as if you were using your own body.
Yeah, and at least you get to sleep for a lot of the time as well, right? Because you're only kind of woken up when you're needed for an active engagement, and then they put you back to sleep.
That is an interesting thing, you see, because there's definitely some dreadnoughts that do have to be put to sleep, because whatever happens over a long enough period of time, it will degenerate your mind, because there's this weird thing where it's like you don't, even though you're fighting and stuff, you have no sense in your body, so like you don't feel the kind of the shooting of the bolter or any pain or anything if you get hurt. So it's a kind of a weird kind of deprivation tank, sort of a sensory deprivation tank you're inside this battle monster. So it's kind of a weird thing, and apparently it does make them all a bit mad eventually, these dreadnoughts. And also it sort of depends on how badly injured you were as well, as to how kind of mad you go by the sounds of it. But so some of them still manage to keep fair amount of agency. Biel the busy-handed, we've talked about that perv in the past, but he's Bjorn the busy-handed, exactly.
Baby Bjorn.
And I think we talked a little while ago about Rylanor.
Legend.
The legendary, excellent dreadnought. We talked about the Istvan.
On Istvan 3, wasn't he?
Istvan 3.
In the virus bombed.
An Emperor's Children dreadnought on Istvan 3, and he got buried alive, unable to move, and he, for over 10,000 years, put out a distress signal until eventually Fulgrim came and heard it and tried to see what was going on, dug him up, and he was there with a bomb and blew the fuck out of him, blew him back to the warp, made him rematerialize. So he's an absolute legend, but he managed to
should be sainted.
Yeah,
my money's on him. First sainthood.
Patron saint of patience, something like that. Definitely. But he managed to keep it together for like 10,000 years without being frozen. But some of them really do go pretty nuts. And the other thing to remember as well is this is not the same for Chaos Dreadnoughts that are quite often made for decent warriors who die, and they're like, oh, thank God, I can finally stop being a Chaos Space Marine. That was real hectic. But they get kind of like jammed into a dreadnought and are kind of purposely made to be really pissed off, like Hellbrutes and stuff are specifically made to completely powered off, like disconnected from their limbs, basically. But at the same time, whereas if you were a Space Marine dreadnought, your brain would kind of switch off. You'd be like asleep, like you said. But the Chaos ones are specifically kept conscious whilst they're not being used, just so they get mega pissed off and just become these super pissed off things on the battlefield. I don't know if this is still the case, but the old Hellbrutes, I think if you failed a leadership test or something, if you were going to flee or whatever, they used to just start shooting the target closest to them, friend or foe. So, they're just pissed off. They're just mega pissed off. And
that's the kind of fun rule that doesn't happen anymore in 40k. You don't have stuff like that.
Why would they do that?
Not competitive, shooting your own people.
No. The attitude towards dreadnoughts, I guess we shouldn't be surprised, is super different. But it is super different. But it doesn't really matter if you're Chaos or Emperor, because eventually your brain is going to degenerate. Yeah.
All right, Stoney. Well, maybe we should gather up what we've learned and maybe come up with a way to resurrect someone we love.
I feel the veil is thin here, Welshy. Shall we try to commune with these spirits?
Yeah, who are you going to bring back that we've lost from 40k models or lore over the years?
I don't know. I've brought with me this Ouija board. Maybe they can spell out who they are. Are you with us, spirits?
Hello.
Oh, it's only bloody Matt. Pass me the shotgun.